Let us use them to win this election.
I think what's interesting about this is historically Muslims haven't really voted. They haven't engaged in the democratic process.
But they did this time.
But this time, they sure did. And it's a continuation of the Muslim vote, basically. Palestine, the genocide in Gaza, and the criticism of Zionism were key issues for Muslims in this.
Israel is literally just trying to destroy the fabric of British society and American society, not just by taking down the BBC, which I have no love for at all, but as you explained before, by pitting people against each other. Specifically that Laura Loomer, I call her Laura Looney. She's an absolute pro-Zionist freak, and she seems to have the ear of the president. And this is a really wacko administration, isn't it? That is influenced by real kind of nut jobs like her.
I think there's a conspiracy here. I think pro-Israel forces in the American administration have tried to set an example here. They've tried to scare people.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Sami, I think this is intimidation tactics.
Yeah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and Roshan Salih joins me here as always. I can't quite get rid of Roshan. I've tried to nudge him out, do a bit of a your party thing, but it's like the your party.
Well, you were in New York.
I'm trying to take over the show. But you just won't quite go away.
I nearly nudged you out last week because you were in New York, right?
Oh yeah, there you go. That was your chance. But yeah, back by popular demand, Robert Carter is back in London. There we are, and we are going to talk about New York. Obviously, Zohran Mamdani was elected to the position of Mayor of New York. He's the first Muslim and man of South Asian heritage to have been elected to the key post, and it's caused quite a stir in America, and I was pleased that I had the chance to go there and see it. America has good food as well, so I partook.
I noticed you put a bit of weight.
Yeah, I did. I certainly did. But obviously the big news is Zohran Mamdani, if we're going to pronounce it rightly. Everyone's been getting his name wrong for rude reasons.
I'm sure he doesn't pronounce it that way.
He doesn't pronounce it that way, no, but I will, because I know.
Yeah, let's impose your name on him.
But I'll do it from the Islamic way. So it's Zohran Mamdani.
Okay,
Zohran Mamdani. But yeah, he has won. And, we now know a bit more details about who elected him. 90% of Muslims voted for Mamdani.
Yes, they did.
A significant chunk of New York's Jewish community voted for his rival, Andrew Cuomo. And New York is, of course, considered a Zionist stronghold.
So are there more Jews than Muslims in New York?
Do you know what? I don't actually know the answer to that. There's a lot of Jews in New York, obviously, and there's a very growing number of Muslims there, and there's like over 1 million Muslims in New York. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands were eligible to vote, and I think what's interesting about this is historically Muslims haven't really voted. They haven't engaged in the democratic process.
But they did this time.
But this time, they sure did, and it's a continuation of the Muslim vote, basically. Palestine, the genocide in Gaza, and the criticism of Zionism were key issues for Muslims in this election. So Palestine, Gaza, tackling Zionism, tackling Islamophobia and racism were all big issues. And that's actually one of the reasons why Mamdani did so well.
So without the Gaza issue, he probably wouldn't have been elected?
Possibly not. Possibly not. I mean, the question here, you can look at it in different ways. Does the Muslim vote have power to be kingmaker in elections in American politics yet? Possibly not.
But in New York, yes.
In New York, it played a role, certainly. Mamdani was appealing to a wide variety of people. He won confidently. He had a lot of African-American votes as well. He ran on a campaign of left-wing socialist issues. That played a role too. But as Muslims, our focus is, what were the Muslims doing? They mobilized hard for Mamdani, despite his issues. You know, that's the elephant in the room here.
The LGBT stuff.
The LGBT
trans,
stuff. Left-wing stuff. I mean, he has peculiar positions on prostitution.
He wants to legalize prostitution, is that right?
Something like that. It's disputed. His views on it aren't actually clear. He said things in the past, which he's distanced himself from now, but he never really sort of clarified that
I know a lot of lefties see sex workers as victims.
Exactly.
They don't really take a moral point of view on it.
Exactly. So I think it's wrong to say he wants to legalize it, like he's pro-prostitution or something like that. He wants to deal with it in a left-wing way. So I don't want to put words in his mouth, because that's what the right were doing. But yeah, you know, peculiar stuff. There was some big elephants in the room from a Muslim point of view. Let's say it like that. You know, waving trans
So
flags.
not only did he get the Muslim vote, he got the hooker vote as well.
Maybe, yeah, the pimp vote. But yeah, the fact is he's in now. I think he's going to assume the position in January.
Yeah.
He's still being attacked as a result of that. The question is, will he succeed? Will Muslims continue to back him? Because at the end of the day, he's made some big promises. And one of the things I was pleased about, Roshan, very quickly, is that although Muslims were backing Mamdani and were overlooking all of the, you know, the un-Islamic stuff, which from our point of view is not right, they were not being stupid or naive about this. They were saying, look, we know what he's about. We know the potential that he may ditch us and betray us and all that type of stuff. We're going to hold him to account, okay? We want action.
Okay.
We want him to take on Zionists. We want him to be outspoken on Palestine, as well as all the other stuff. If he starts straying from that and playing silly political games and ditching us, we're going to hold him. We're going to hold him to account.
And
we're
what did you? Were you starstruck by New York? That was your first time in the Big Apple, wasn't it? Were you a bit? I can imagine you would be a bit seeing those skyscrapers and Times Square.
I preferred.
Your head went right.
No, not too much. New York didn't appeal to me that much. I mean, obviously, it's you go to all these places in the movies, right? Like Manhattan and Long Island.
Were you doing
and
selfies
Brooklyn.
with that?
Not so much. I think Dilly wanted me to do more selfies than I actually did, to be honest with you.
Right.
I was much more impressed and taken aback by Michigan, Dearborn, Hamtramck, the Muslim enclave, basically.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it there, where they play the adhan out 5 times a day, and Yemenis have taken over, and you know, they've actually outlawed rainbow flags on all public buildings in Hamtramck, for example. So I felt like, finally, I'm in a safe place away from this rainbow mafia, which is trying to force feed me to be gay and trying to turn my children trans. I was like, I'm safe from that here. Wow, that's amazing.
Is New York just
in
kind
the
of
West, you know?
Is it kind of just like a glitzier version of London?
No, not at all. In fact, it's
very different.
About as dirty as London is. It's
no, when I say glitzy, it's more like, you know, more like showbiz, more like loud, and
it's the city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
I mean, my hotel. 5 Pillars budget did me well. I was in a hotel right next to the highway.
You're in the Waldorf Astoria, were you?
I was in South Bronx, rough area near Harlem, and I was right next to a subway where it would never go quiet. So I slept listening to traffic all night. But it's a busy hustle and bustle city, and people are, you know, America is like capitalism on steroids, isn't it?
Yes.
So the poverty there is more extreme. It's more in your face. The drug abuse there is more extreme, more in your face. The landlords there are more oppressive, more inflation, more high prices. So everything more extreme. So no, I personally didn't like New York in that sense, but the people there were great. The Muslims there are wonderful, nice people. And I think, you know, America for us is a bit of a blind spot. Maybe we should look to doing more work in America in the future. I think there's an audience there. People did like 5 Pillars. They liked our content.
Did they?
You know, even though we were asking questions that perhaps they weren't expecting. But, you know, I think there's room to expand.
There's an audience.
I've said that to you before. I think we should, especially the enclave.
So we have to make America Muslim.
We need a little 5 Pillars HQ in the enclave, the Islamic enclave.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If there's going to be an enclave in the West, 5 Pillars needs to have a headquarters there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I think we're going to watch Mamdani,
but I know
see how he performs.
I have to tell the viewers that you forced me to edit out some of my Sharia law jokes.
While I was...
Is that because you felt unsafe in America with me making Sharia law jokes?
We're going to talk about Sami Hamdi a little bit more. I think we were kind of suspecting, because the people who went after Sami also go after, they troll us online all the time, 5 Pillars and Dilly. And so we were like, okay, if we go there, they're obviously going to see that and probably try and get me arrested.
So it's not really the land of the free then? You can't say whatever you want.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's the land of Israel first freedom, maybe. You can say anything as a Zionist. You can even incite, like, for the death of Muslims in America if you're a Zionist, probably. And because
I always thought even as a Muslim you were freer to speak in America than you were in Britain. But
I mean, Daniel Hakikachu seems to tweet pretty on the line stuff.
No, what I'm saying is that I can make jokes about Sharia law taking over Britain, and we can get away with it here.
I think you can say that, but the problem is because we're foreigners.
Yeah.
You know, they might deport me and then it'll hamper my
Yeah, you're
work.
not a citizen.
They might throw me in Guantanamo for all I know. I just don't trust America that much,
Yeah,
you know,
all right, fair
especially
enough.
for what we're doing.
Fair enough.
But if you're an American citizen, I think it's very different.
All right.
You know, you probably have more freedoms and stuff. Very quickly, we want to talk about Sudan. It's an important topic, and we have a guest joining us for that. But I just want to ask you very quickly about your Umrah trip. So yeah, tell us more about that, Roshan.
Yeah, really briefly. I mean, as you would notice, brothers and sisters, I've got this Umrah cough. We all come back with it, and it's still lingering like a week and a half afterwards. But alhamdulillah, it's my first Umrah in about 15 years. You know, Allah's blessed me to have made Hajj twice in the past, and I obviously did Umrahs while I was on Hajj. So a lot, you know, I'd forgotten a lot of the rituals and the du'as, and so it was a good, alhamdulillah, you know, Allah invited me back to his house and got to say salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm very grateful and honored to have done that. And I just think that, you know, Medina is quiet and it's peaceful, it's beautiful, and Makkah is chaotic, and that's not changed from my memories 15 years ago. But the fact is that you have this 10 days where you can forget about everything and just focus on ibadah. So obviously I was focusing on salah, praying every salah in the masjid with khushu, and focusing on reading as much Quran as possible, and you know, learning about the Syria and revising my studies about the Syria. And what better place to do that than in Medina, you know, the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I just think that, you know, obviously Hajj now is becoming so expensive. What is it, about £10,000 for like a 3-star Hajj or something like that, or £8,000 at least. It's becoming the preserve of the rich, whereas Umrah is still, alhamdulillah, it's still kind of affordable. So I think brothers and sisters, do as many Umrahs as possible. You know, try and go there as much while you can. And you never know about the political situation in Saudi Arabia as well. That might change in the years to come. So I think do as many Umrahs as you can now. Do it in a group if you possibly can as well. I think there's barakah doing it in a group. You can do it individually. Just book a Wizz Air flight to Medina, or I think they don't fly to Makkah, but they fly to Medina. You can do it very cheaply. You can do it on your own. But I think there is barakah doing it in a group with a guide, with a leader who can kind of take you through all the rituals and the du'as and stuff like that. So that's what I did. Alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity again.
Yeah, great. Well, obviously there is...
Robert, when are you doing your Umrah?
Yeah.
You need to do it.
Yeah, inshallah. You know, I would like to do it. I mean, it'd be great to go out there and document it, because the thing is I haven't been to Mecca or Medina yet. And obviously I've been a convert to Islam for a number of years now, so it's long overdue, and I think it would be something great to document.
You know, it was good. You know how when I go abroad, I'm still in 5 pillars mode. It's still in my mental space, and you'll know this because I'm still like texting you in Dili and even doing stories, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas I think for that 10 days, I hardly messaged you guys.
Yeah.
So it was good just to forget about 5 pillars for 10 days and recharge and.
SubhanAllah, I think Allah has had me doing other things. I've been raising a family and focusing on that, and obviously my career as well as a Muslim journalist has been reaching new heights with 5 pillars. So I think inshallah it will happen when it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it does happen, it will be a great experience, man. No doubt about it. And inshallah, I'll document it. I'll put it on 5 pillars or something. You know, my first visit to Hijaz. But there is Sudan obviously going on. Yes,
let's go to Yusuf. He's been waiting.
I think that, it's an important subject. We need to give it ample time, and we do have a guest on it. So obviously I think everyone is aware of the fact that Sudan is going through a horrific civil war. Lots of people are being killed, and recent events that have happened, the capture of a major city, El Fasher, has seen horrific atrocities and images of intense violence and oppression coming out of Sudan now, and it's been traumatizing everyone. It's ringing very close to what we're seeing from Gaza, women and children being killed, and there's talk of rape being used as a weapon of war, a lot of starvation, that type of thing. So it's a horrific situation, and that's why we're going to discuss it here today, and we're going to bring on an expert guest to help us navigate this. So I have the presenter of YouTube channel The Muslim Opinion, Yusuf Abu Sinna, who's going to join us on the show. He's half Sudanese and someone who has discussed the Sudan issue at length. I'll see if I can bring him onto the show now, inshallah.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Yusuf. Nice to see you, brother. Thank you for joining us today. Where are you? Are you in London or where are you?
I am, yes, I am in London. Yeah.
Okay, all right. We must meet up, inshallah, if you're in London. You're not too far away from us. Yusuf, yeah, just doing a little bit of reading before the show. I'm even refreshing. Obviously, I'm someone I've been to Sudan a while back, and alhamdulillah, beautiful country, beautiful people. It seems crazy to me that there's a civil war there, given how beautiful the people are. But I was just doing a little bit of reading, refreshing my memory, because this is not something that the Ummah has focused on. I think even there's 5 pillars, we've not done enough on it because probably we've been obsessed with Palestine a bit. So I'm going to ask you some really simple questions, and that is, how bad is the situation here? I look at the figures. Some figures say 60,000 people have been killed over the last few years. I'm seeing 500,000, 12 million displaced. But it just seems a little bit hazy. Do we have an accurate idea of how bad the situation has been in Sudan over the last 2 years?
Okay, so the simple answer to your question is no, we don't actually have an accurate assessment. Everything is an estimate. Sudan is a very big country, and its infrastructure isn't that great. So the figures vary wildly, and they're all estimates, whether they're from the United Nations or they're from the Sudanese government themselves or others. They do vary wildly, and there are places in Sudan, many places in Sudan, which don't have access to the internet. And the areas which are under the RSF control themselves, you can't really be going around freely with a phone, even, unless you're safe as far as the RSF are concerned. So there are parts in Sudan which they're a blind spot, even to us. We don't really know what's going on there either. But yeah, these are the low estimates. 12 million is the low estimate. 12 million displaced is the low estimate, and part of it is just an estimation based on what we already knew this population of Khartoum was, the capital city, and the fact that was almost entirely emptied during the first 8 months of the war. Almost, it went down from around 8 million to under 2 million very quickly in a few months. And then the estimate is just looking at the other cities as well, as opposed to actually counting heads.
Yeah. Just take us back a little bit. I mean, how did this all break out? What's your assessment of the overall situation?
Well, I'm a big advocate of, if you want to understand what's going on, and now you have to go back to the revolution in 2019. This didn't begin in April 2023. This war began in April 23, but the events start from the revolution in 2019. So when the old regime fell, when President Bashir was removed, in his place was a power struggle between the military that was trying to hold on to power and a number of a coalition of secular parties that were sort of parachuted in from outside, but they had foreign backing. And they had the leverage, which was the people on the ground wanted the end of military rule. So they used that as leverage. And that created a hybrid situation. Both sides weren't compromising. So under the supervision or sponsorship, let's call it, of mediation of foreign powers, the military and let's call them civilians for now, these political parties, entered into like a hybrid transitional government. For 3 years, it was supposed to be for 3 years, and then there would be elections. That was the idea.
Yeah.
But during that time, they were just plotting against each other and trying to remove the other from power and remove their influence. And eventually the army just cancelled the agreement and put everyone in prison. And then they were forced to come back out under foreign pressure as well and start again negotiations with the same parties for a new transitional agreement. And this second transitional agreement is the cause of the current conflict. When it was agreed to in December 2022, the new one that was supposed to start implementation in April 2023, a number of points in it, perhaps I won't go into detail right now, but a number of points in it weren't sitting well with leaderships within the military. Both the regular army, headed by General Burhan, and the RSF, which is the paramilitary, the auxiliaries of the Sudanese army, headed by Hemeti, both of them had issues with the document and issues with each other as well. So in April 23, before it came to, or as it was supposed to come into implementation, the army fractured. The RSF broke out and attacked the military, which cancelled the agreement. But then this war transformed into something else afterwards. After the third week, the USA declared this is going to be a long war and there cannot be a military solution. And then they started to remove the diplomats, and everyone else followed America's lead in this. So it has come, I know I'm summarizing a lot, but it's become clear now over time, I would say, especially after the fall of al-Fashir, that original causes aside, which was the army not trying to pass hand power over, and within the army there were disagreements over that transition itself and the status of each leader, each military leader in it.
As Muslims, as non-Sudanese Muslims, looking at this, I mean, should we pick a side? Is the National Army better than the RSF, or is it vice versa? Or how should we view this as Muslims?
Right. So there's an ayah in Surah Al-Hujurat, I'll just say the meaning in English, but you may have come across this, which talks about if two factions of Muslims or believers fight, then make peace between them. But if one then transgresses, then fight the one that transgresses until they return to the command of Allah. So there have been attempts right at the beginning of the war to make peace between the two, and the RSF are definitely the aggressors and the transgressors. They go door to door, they break into people's homes, they're attacking the people themselves, they're not just fighting the army. While the army, they don't do that, although they have conducted airstrikes sometimes indiscriminately that have killed civilians. But the soldiers in the Sudanese army they fight for defending land, honor, life, and wealth, while the RSF are fighting almost like a racist war to assert the dominance of their tribe over everyone else. So yes, in terms of our position, it is correct to support the Sudanese army, the Sudanese soldiers, in defeating the RSF, and that also destroys the American plan because you get rid of that de facto government in Darfur as well, and prevents the separation of Sudan. However, the caveat is the leadership of the Sudanese army is a continuation of the previous regime.
Yeah.
So while it is correct to say right now, from pure Hukm perspective, anyone who volunteers in the Sudanese army, if they're going to fight with the intention of pushing back this aggression and to end this rebellion, that is halal, probably wajib actually for everyone in Sudan. For outside, we shouldn't be condemning that. However, we shouldn't then fall into the trap of treating the leadership of the Sudanese army, who are trying to exploit this now to cement their position as the actual rulers of Sudan, even though a revolution came out against them before. So you have to be able to separate these two.
Sure.
The leadership of the army is also subservient, let's say a client, to the four countries, that committee, the Quad,
Yes.
as are the RSF. And we do not want the Fattah al-Burhan to be ruling Sudan, but we definitely do want the army to destroy or to defeat, to end this rebellion and this aggression.
Just wrapping this up now, Yusuf. We've got a few minutes left. I mean, are Sudanese a little bit disappointed in the Muslim Ummah generally? I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that our focus has been on Gaza for legitimate reasons, but at the same time, we probably have neglected Sudan as an issue. Is that? I mean, how does Sudanese feel about that? Have the Ummah abandoned them?
Yeah, mixed feelings. So yes, a lot of Sudanese are disappointed, have been disappointed for a long time, because this has been going on. This war has been going on for 2 years. We're in the third year now. But yes, as you say, it was happening at the same time as Gaza. But this did start before Gaza, and it still wasn't getting that attention before Gaza. So it is very disappointing, but at the same time, there are, in Sudan itself, protests for Palestine and Gaza as well, almost on a weekly basis, in the what we call the liberated areas, the areas which are under the army's control. So there's an understanding that Palestine is big and it's important to us too as well. Masjid al-Aqsa is important to us as well. But yes, it would be nice, putting it really mildly, it would be nice if the Muslim Ummah could also pay attention to Sudan, and to be involved as well.
Yeah, how can we? I mean, what can we practically do?
So there's obviously the easy option, which is to support financially, which has become easier now. It was very difficult at the beginning of the war. You couldn't actually get anything into Sudan, but it has become easier now. There are soup kitchens, aid kitchens, which have opened up in Sudan, which you can donate to, and there are obviously charities that help out the refugees outside, like in Egypt or Chad and these other countries. So you can help that way. I really want to stress that you have to help in raising your voice to expose what's really happening in Sudan, because when the media focuses on just RSF and the army, then what's happening behind the scenes becomes invisible, and the ones who are directing and moving, because right now I would say for sure these people on the ground, they don't matter anymore. Whatever the spark was, it's finished. That's in the past now. This war is something different now. It's being managed in order to separate that force. So we have to expose that and expose the involvement of the foreign countries. This is not a civil war. It's a proxy war. This is not something we're doing to each other. This is something that's being done to us from outside. So when you raise awareness, when you expose what's actually happening, and you make it difficult for the UAE to continue arming the RSF publicly, and you make it difficult for the USA to come in as the hero who's going to save everything, when once everyone actually sees who the USA really are, they are also behind the UAE, then you actually aid in making the plan to separate that fall.
Okay. So
it puts pressure on the Sudanese army to take up its duty and stop waiting for, as it is right now, waiting for the US to mediate.
Okay, so in terms of when we raise our voice, it should be about preventing the separation of Sudan and the breakup of Sudan.
I would say that's the focus, because first to realize this is what's happening, and the tools to do that is to show that there's foreign powers who are tearing Sudan apart. It's the UAE, the USA, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, primarily, also the UK, but the UK, because of other reasons, has been sidelined by the UK by the US, but they're trying to get back in.
Okay. All right. Jazakallah, Yusuf, for explaining that to us and educating us. Robert, do you have anything else to add or to ask before Yusuf goes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said during the discussion, Sudan's been widely neglected, I think.
Yeah.
That's something
we'll keep on it consistently from now on, inshallah.
Inshallah. There has been a protest as well. So there's quite a lot of Sudanese living in the UK.
Yes.
I think this is something we should be aware of. There are protests. Quite often I see protests for Sudan outside Downing Street when I'm down there. This was a protest outside Manchester City's football stadium that happened on the weekend. So just maybe keep an eye out for these brothers and sisters as well and come along. I think British Sudanese would appreciate the attendance of non-Sudanese Muslims in the crowd. This is something obviously Palestine has benefited from for many, many years, people showing up to condemn what's going on there, and I think the Sudanese would appreciate it as well, inshallah.
Yeah, and it's very important to expose the role of the UAE in particular. The UAE unfortunately gets too much of a free pass by Muslims who are obsessed about going or living there, going on holiday there, buying into this Dubai glitz and glamour, this kind of so-called, Western halal lifestyle. They're Muslim Zionists. That's what they are. Yeah. Proper Muslim Zionists, and they're tearing Sudan apart.
We should mention an update regarding Sami Hamdi, the journalist who's very close to Five Pillars and has been detained by ICE in America and has been held in detention in California for well over a week now. He has visited a judge, I think, who has said that he will now be deported. So we are expecting him to return back to the UK very soon. I haven't seen an exact date of release. I think we're still waiting on that. But obviously this has been a major case because Sami Hamdi, he's a voice, isn't he? He's a journalist and someone who has spoken internationally on issues of interest to Muslims. And after touring the US and engaging in, speech, he was held and detained on all sorts of accusations that he's some kind of extremist or a terrorist sympathizer. He was accused of being a member of the Muslim Brotherhood organization, which he is not, so totally unfounded.
There's big differences.
But, accusations and a hate campaign by Zionists in America on X was all it took for the US ICE.
Specifically that Laura Loomer.
Laura Loomer,
yeah.
absolutely.
I call her Laura Looney.
Looney,
She's an absolute pro-Zionist freak, and she seems to have the ear of the president. And this is a really wacko administration, isn't it? That is influenced by real kind of nut jobs like her.
Yeah, she's a complete lunatic. And the thing is, she's such a loony pro-Israel nut job that even former Zionist Christian American commentators are starting to attack and criticize her, saying that she's not America first, she's Israel first, and that she's part of a sort of a plan headed by Israel to push American policy into Israel's favor at the detriment even of Americans themselves, even of American Christians. So it's not even an Islamic thing here. So even American Christian right-wing commentators who are no friends of Muslims are starting to see past their lies and their hate and their campaign to basically destroy the West, keep the West weak, and attack free speech of people in the West in order to basically prop up Israel. And I think it's a good thing, you know, subhanAllah, like everything happens for a reason. People say things like, although there's a genocide happening in Gaza, there's like Allah's plan is at work here. So a lot of people are converting to Islam in the West. And I think a lot of people are now starting to see through Israel in the West as well. They're starting to realize that Israel is a force for evil on the world stage. It's not even a friend or an ally of the West itself, not even just humanity as well. And so, you know, I think, who knows how this is going to happen, how this is going to develop in the future. Maybe Israel is going to start coming under serious pressure from right-wing forces as well as Muslim forces.
Getting back to Sami, I think, I hope he sues the pants off the American authorities, because they've held him for weeks now. And when he came up in front of that judge a few days ago, his only alleged crime was overstaying his visa. Not belonging to the Muslim Brotherhood or hate speech or being pro-Hamas. It was overstaying his visa.
They had nothing on him.
And why did he overstay his visa? Because unbeknownst to him, basically the Department of Homeland Security rescinded his visa rights while he was in America.
Wow.
So literally, what's he meant to do about it? And I don't know why they didn't just deport him straight away instead of keeping him in jail for
I don't know
for 2 weeks, and he's still not coming home. I think he's got I think they got to set a date for his deportation or something.
I think there's a conspiracy here. I think pro-Israel forces in the American administration have tried to set an example here. They've tried to scare people.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Sami, I think this is intimidation tactics. I think they're trying to punish him using whatever way they can, just to keep him in jail for weeks.
But not just Sami, but other activists, other Muslim activists, or pro-Palestine activists.
Yeah, we're warning you. You're not welcome here. We don't want you to come.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sami Hamdi's done nothing wrong. He's just talked, right? He's just spoken about these issues.
I mean, if one thing the Americans, is admired around the world, it's that they have freedom of speech over there more than other countries, and it's just because of these Israel firsters putting pressure on and literally pulling the strings of the Trump administration that you're getting situations like this. I mean, aren't even like Americans that aren't even pro-Palestine, aren't they offended by the fact that these Israel firsters are trying to basically destroy the First Amendment?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. We've been telling the world about this for a long time. Israel ruins everything. It's not just like human life in Gaza. Israel being in the Middle East has ruined the whole Middle East. Everything that was once good about the region is being destroyed, all because of Israel and Zionism. And it's a poison, and it affects everything it touches, and it's destroying the West too. Israel would happily destroy the West, keep the West weak, and it's doing that right now just to prop itself up. That's why we have a far-right agenda by these agitators who are backed by Israel in the UK and the US and elsewhere, trying to put neighbor against neighbor. They're talking about grooming gangs, they're politicizing issues, they're talking about racism, and they want race riots and race wars. It's about destroying the societal harmony of the West.
This is a nice little segue into the BBC, because they're also now trying to destroy that great British institution, the BBC. Now, obviously, you and me have, and Muslims in general, have many problems with the BBC. I even tried to launch a campaign a few years ago to defund the BBC. I'm all in favour of that. And that's basically specifically over the coverage of Muslims and Palestine. They've obviously been completely pro-Israel, but they ain't pro-Israel enough for these Israel firsters that, you know, in America and also in Britain. Now, I was listening to a podcast. Obviously, the headlines in the UK, if you live in the UK, the headlines this week have all been dominated about the BBC Director General resigning and the head of news of the BBC resigning over a documentary, allegedly, that misrepresented Donald Trump's speech in front of the Capitol about 4 years ago, accusing him of basically inciting violence. Now, that's exactly what he did, by the way. He incited an insurrection against the Capitol, and the Capitol was attacked. Several people died. Trump is as guilty as hell. But it is true that the BBC basically did a bit of an amateur edit, which made it look as though he directly called for violence that day, where in fact it was more indirectly he called for violence. But I think people aren't seeing the big picture here, Robert. And the big picture is that this is a Zionist plot to take down the head of the BBC and the head of the BBC News, who weren't Zionists enough for the Israel firsters, the Israel fanatics and extremists, who basically want the BBC to be a PR propaganda tool for a greater Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the reason why I say this is because I listened to a podcast by the newsagents, Jeremy Sopel and Emily Maitlis, two bastions of BBC journalism for the last 20, 30 years, but now they've left the BBC. And they were talking quite frankly about a guy called Robbie Gibb, who's on the BBC board, and he's an Israel firster, basically. He's someone who led a consortium a few years ago to buy the Jewish News. The Jewish News, another Israel first newspaper in this country. And he's on the BBC board, and they basically accused him of putting undue pressure on BBC journalism across the board. So there's this coalition of people like Boris Johnson, Robbie Gibb, and Zionist publications and Zionist lobby groups and pressure groups within the UK who have coalesced to basically take down the leaders of the BBC because they weren't pro-Israel enough.
It's an important story, and yeah, I think, like you say, people. I mean, I hadn't heard that until you had laid it out to me, and it makes sense, you know. I mean, obviously Israel is not happy and it's trying to dominate. It can't win the public argument. I think everyone can see exactly what Israel's all about now. So it's trying to manipulate, it's trying to use plots and coups in order to force its will and force its narrative into the mainstream by any means necessary. So, you know, this is just typical of Israel, I think. I think it's just typical of Israel.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, people are obviously going to accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist and biased, but I would urge them just to look at what Jeremy Sopel, John Sopel rather, and Emily Maitlis said on that newsagent's podcast. You know, BBC insiders with still lots of contacts within the BBC. They didn't lay it out as obviously as I did there, but if you join the dots, that's exactly what they're saying. Yeah. That this was a coup by right-wing pro-Israel forces to take out the leadership of the BBC. All the focus has been on this, you know, Trump documentary edit. That's the small picture. There's a larger picture which people need to see. Israel is literally just trying to destroy the fabric of British society and American society, not just by taking down the BBC, which I have no love for at all, but as you explained before, by pitting people against each other. We have multicultural societies in this country, and generally we have rubbed along reasonably well. Obviously, there's been a bit of friction, but there's no civil war in this country. They are literally trying to provoke a race and civil war in the West to suit their agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Israel's behind it. You know, Israel's behind it. The rise of the far right, the rise of racism, the rise of Islamophobia, all of these agendas, right-wing platforms. I mean, they're taking over social media as well. You know, pro-Israel supporters to take billionaires and zillionaires or whatever, taking over social media platforms. And they're even making it quite clear that they want social media platforms to be pro-Israel. You know, they want to censor and gag pro-Palestine sentiment. So, you know, this is a attempt to take over the world, you know, in one way or another, isn't it? It's really, really bizarre. And it seems as if some right-wing Christian forces are waking up to it in America. Who knows? Hopefully they'll provide some kind of counterbalance to this because... yeah, you know, the mankind is at stake here. It's not even from
and the
Muslim
Zionists
thing.
are also trying to put Reform UK into government here.
And
they're behind the. There's a clear alliance with the far right in this country as well.
Yeah.
And we have a few years before the election. Let's wipe the smile off their faces.
Yeah.
Let's wipe the smirks off Reform UK's faces. They think they've got it sewn up. They're going to take political power in this country. They're going to basically shit on the Muslims and the immigrants. Let's see what, there's going to be a fight back. Yeah. There's going to be a fight back. Let's see what we can do.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's keep them unelected. Well, let's see. We've also got this story, which I think is a big one to react to. So, talking about Syria now, we've got the leader of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa, has visited the White House. This is on this has been sort of building up now, as Syria appears to be well and truly in the West's sphere of influence and has been working on that. Of course, this is about relieving sanctions. It's about rebuilding Syria, but also people have been warning for quite some time that Ahmed al-Shara's agenda has been to basically jump into the West's sphere of influence. And people are concerned about normalization and all of that type of stuff, and that it may be down the road. So, this is obviously something which the left and supporters of Assad are kind of using as a stick to beat down Muslims who are anti-Assad, saying, well, you're a bunch of idiots. It was all a Western regime change
NATO
agenda,
plot,
NATO plot and that type of thing. So what do you make of this, Roshan? Obviously, we've kind of, Five Pillars coverage of Syria has been criticised for being pro-Ahmed al-Sharaa at one point, but we've also criticised it at another point, which other people haven't been happy about. So what do you make of this and where it stands?
Well, our coverage has not been pro-Ahmed al-Sharaa, I can tell you that much. You can accuse us maybe of celebrating the fact that Assad was ousted. I think we did. But that doesn't mean we're pro-Jolani, by no means, and I certainly am not. Look, I think the reality is, Robert, as you said, Syria is now firmly in the Western orbit. The West has control of Syria. And indirectly, we can also say that Israel has control of Syria. They've destroyed Syria's military capabilities. They're bombing at will. They can do whatever they want in Syria, really. On the plus side, I'm still happy that Assad left, because that was not a sustainable situation either, having a brutal dictator in power that was, massacring his own people. And those that, are trying to have a pop at people that are happy that Assad left, they need to realize that this guy was a taghut. He was an evil man that was massacring Muslims. So to have him in power just so that, the geopolitical influence of the resistance axis can be exercised is not an option either. But there's no doubt that Syria has moved from the resistance of axis's orbit to a Western and indirectly an Israeli orbit. At the moment, normalization isn't on the agenda, but that is clearly the plan a few years down the road. The West is trying to get its tentacles so much into Syria and to make Syria so dependent on it that it will not be able to say no to normalization. Syria is weak, it's defenseless. I think supporters of al-Sharaa would say that he's a sincere Muslim. He's focusing on reconstructing the country. Syria is not in a position to fight anybody at the moment. But at the same time, we were throwing those arguments at Assad. We were accusing Assad of hypocrisy and not fighting Israel. So why are we giving the other side the benefit of the doubt? Assad never, he never shook the hands of the President of the United States, did he? Although he did have tea and biscuits with the Queen. So he was no anti-imperialist either. He was a pragmatic politician. But I think we have to realize that it's a bit of a, an SHIT show in Syria at the moment. I don't think anyone comes out of this smelling of roses. The resistance axis can say that they, they were able to funnel arms to Lebanon and indirectly to Palestine when they were in charge. But at the same time, they were also propping up an evil dictator massacring the Muslims of that country. And the people that call it a blessed revolution have to also face up to the fact that, Syria is in the Western orbit now. and in the Israeli orbit as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a terrible situation, and I don't think any side comes out of it smelling with roses.
Yeah, I think that what's important to remember as well, because obviously pictures like this, you get the Assadists coming back in and saying, we warned you about this, we were right, as if they're some kind of, they've been totally exonerated about all this, and that, we were right to back Assad, and Assad was better than this. Well, the reality is that Assad was, like you say, evil, he was killing Muslims, and there is a difference between celebrating his defeat and being anti-Assad because he's a violent, murderous killer.
I still wouldn't want him back.
And being a hardline supporter of Ahmad al-Sharaa. So you mentioned earlier on, we haven't, we're not like pro-Ahmad al-Sharaa here.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him.
We report on the story factually. If he did something good, we'd report on that. If he does something like this, we report on it. The fact is, like, we're pro-Syrian people. We're pro-Islam, pro-Muslim, and obviously Syria is a Muslim-majority country, which happens to be Sunni-majority, and they've been heavily oppressed by Assad, as well as Israel, for many, many years. Now, Ahmad al-Sharaa, it looks like his agenda, I still don't know, he's very concealed, isn't he? He's keeping his cards close to his chest. No one really truly knows what he's all about.
Well, his supporters will say he's playing 4D chess, and he's like, Saladin al-Ayyubi, and allying with the Fatimids, and he'll be liberating Jerusalem before we know it. Give him some time.
Yeah,
I don't buy that.
I just don't understand about, obviously, because he's progressed through his career. He's fought for various groups in Syria, then he's become the president, and now he's moving into the West sphere of influence. Has he always been the West's man, or was he independent?
I don't think so. I think it's an evolution.
That's what I don't understand, because
I think he's
has he always been a pawn in this game? That's what I don't get.
I mean, I think you can argue that everyone in Syria has been a pawn in the game of greater powers, both regionally and internationally. I think he is an arch-pragmatic politician like Erdogan. I think personally he is probably a believing and practicing Muslim. I don't really want to cast doubt on that aspect. I think on a personal level he's a believing and practicing Muslim, but he just believes probably that the path to maybe even Islam in Syria is a path where he's going to have to make many compromises, where he's going to have to do deals with the devil, so that one day he'll be in a position to make decisions for Syria, which are beneficial decisions, Islamically even, for the people. Now, I just think that's supreme naivety, because Syria is a very weak power in the clutches of much more powerful powers, and the West ain't going to let that happen. Yeah. And they're just going to outmaneuver him. They're going to exert all their financial, political, military levers to ensure that Syria remains a vassal state for, I don't know, the next 50 years.
Yeah, and it's also like Western aid and financial support, sanctions relief, it comes with a price as well. That's when the agenda to reform and to manipulate the society and the religious
and normalize with Israel.
And normalize with Israel come into play as well. So they're going to be pressured on normalization, there's no doubt about that. But also the idea that if he opens Syria up to the West, he'll be able to focus on rebuilding Syria, making it more Islamic in the future. There's a chance that the West's going to turn around and go, oh, hang on a minute.
That ain't going to happen.
No. I mean, just look what they're doing to Saudi Arabia. They're like, no, you better start changing that. If you want more money and more business and more access and all sorts of stuff, it comes with a price. We've even reported on it, like the Commonwealth and stuff. Membership of the British Commonwealth for all of these third world countries, it comes with a price. They get aid, but also a lot of money gets pumped into backing up activists locally who push the LGBT agenda and liberal secular agendas and feminism and all that type of stuff. So, it comes with a price. If you go into the West sphere of influence, putting all the other stuff to a side like normalization, it comes with a price. They try to change the fabric of society.
The most generous interpretation of what he's doing you could have is that he's giving the country a breather. There'll be reconstruction after 15 years of civil war. The people can breathe again. It's not so oppressive as it was under Assad. That's the generous interpretation. But the price of all that is Syria becoming a vassal state of the West and Israel. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, it's just a question of what did the Syrians fight all these years for? Was it just to defeat Assad and just move on? or was it to defeat Assad and also to take the fight to Israel? Maybe, who knows? So we'll wait and see. We'll see how this develops and how Syrians feel about it. I think it's
anything else, Robert, today?
I think,
Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Yeah, we should probably talk about Maccabi Tel Aviv. You were there reporting on
I think
this.
we should.
So just tell me about your experience. I was still in the States
so
at this time.
I went to Villa Park on Wednesday. I was still very sick, actually. So I was like, probably not on my A game that night. But so I rocked up with my tripod and my iPhone and I filmed the protest. I was a little bit disappointed, I have to say, because there were about 1,000 people there, I would say, and it was a very, very committed protest. Some fantastic speeches by Ayub Khan, by Sheikh Asrar, and our mate Shakil and Maulana Sikandar. So everyone that was there was very committed, very well behaved, but they were still not compromising. There were chants of death to the IDF and many others as well. So Israel got a proper bashing that day, but I just felt that more people could have turned up. I felt that, 1,000 was, given that Birmingham is so full of Muslims, and this was an issue that had energized Muslims all over the country, I was expecting like 10,000 people, and it was quite small compared to that. So that was a bit disappointing. Obviously, the far right did turn up. Most Villa fans were fine, all right? But a small minority of far right Villa fans turned up, antagonized the crowd. And then you had these agitators like Nick Timothy MP, the Conservative MP, who turned up deliberately trying to antagonize and paint them as Islamist thugs. You had this little Bob bloke, who I think, I don't follow him online, maybe you do, you can tell me about him, but apparently Little Bob, this YouTuber who regularly cusses Islam and the Prophet, turned up, and again he tried to portray the Muslims as extremists. So you had the agitators. There was a bit of argy-bargy half an hour before kickoff. Quite a nasty atmosphere. But the police that really turned up in force, there was about 1,000 police officers there, or 700, and they kept both sides apart. So nothing happened in the end in terms of kind of physical confrontations. I think there were some arrests on both sides for chanting, but nothing else, no kind of physical violence. I was a bit sad that Maccabi Tel Aviv got to play at Villa Park without any disruption, so no banners, no pitch invasions. So they got to play in Birmingham, a pro-Palestine city with loads of Muslims, and they got to play a football match for 90 minutes without any disruption. And I find that quite sad that happened in the first place, because no Israeli teams should be playing football, should be allowed to sports watch their genocide in that way. So I have mixed feelings. Alhamdulillah, the people of Birmingham stood up. Alhamdulillah, they got the fans banned, but at the end of the day, the protest was too small, and Maccabi Tel Aviv genocide supporters got to play in Birmingham.
Yeah, of course, the fixture should never have been allowed to happen. I just think that, there's a reason why Birmingham's one of my most favourite cities in the UK, and it's things like this, it wasn't just the protest outside the stadium. I know that there were activists that did all the pro-Palestine flags everywhere. They hung up the sign saying Zionists not welcome here. Yeah. So they made it an inhospitable environment for supporters of genocide, for Zionists and Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, which is the right thing to do, no doubt about it. And, it's just one of those reasons that I love the city so much. But the fact is that allowing this fixture to happen is very damning. And the fact is that the government sided with a fan base of foreigners who are known for hooliganism and violence across Europe. That's over the needs, wants and concerns of its own British citizens who happen to be Muslim. That's very damning on the Labour Party. And I think that Birmingham has to make a renewed effort in the next general election to turf out all of these Labour MPs, get rid of them, and just replace them with independents or anyone else really would do. I think we need some pro-Gaza people. We got very close last time. We had a few narrow misses where we could have had independents won in, and I think it was vote splitting that really cost. I think Shakil Afsar should have won in his seat, but I think there was a vote split issue there. Ahmed Yaqub as well got very close, so perhaps We need to revisit that campaign and try and get him elected again. Ayub Khan won, but it should have been a total revolution in Birmingham.
Yeah.
The whole city should have gone from a Labour stronghold to an Islamic pro-Palestine stronghold, to be honest with you.
Islamic stronghold.
I'm saying it quite...
GBDs, you hear that?
I'm saying it, frankly speaking, an anti-genocide, Muslim-backed stronghold. It's a Muslim-majority city, and we don't want racism. You know, we don't want Labour there. That's the pie of genocide.
Robert, did young Bob get arrested?
Yeah, he did. I'm actually showing the footage here. So basically, he...
So who is young Bob? Tell me about him.
I don't want to be, believe it or not, but I don't want to be too harsh on young Bob, and I'll tell you why. He's a
white.
young...
White solidarity.
Oh yeah, it's all about skin colour. But he's a young Christian, right-wing Tommy Robinson supporter, basically, who's goes to Speaker's Corner and gets involved in debates. He films everything, gets arrested all the time, very anti-immigration, very anti-Islam as well. So
You're not selling him very well to me, but anyway, go on.
Not very well.
So why should I feel sorry for him?
I'll tell you why. He was arrested on the day. There was a dispersal order put in place by the police. He wouldn't follow it. He was being troublesome in that regard, so the police cuffed him and moved him away respectfully. He should have done it of his own accord. He refused to do so on camera. That's why he was arrested. It wasn't because, you know, they were against his speech. He had been there espousing his rubbish, trying to get into debates, sizing up to Muslims for a while, and the police decided enough's enough, let's move him out of here. They didn't want to fight. So... young Bob, from what I understand, I don't follow him regularly. He's a young guy. I think he's got some kind of issue like like autism or something like that.
Okay,
that's why I don't want to be too harsh on the guy. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. He's a young guy who's been radicalized, in my opinion, by these far right forces, which is exactly the thing we're warning about all the time on here.
Right. So he's just ignorant.
Now he's in a point. He's very ignorant about Islam. Absolutely.
We could do some dour on him, basically.
I think so. I mean, he's always at Speaker's Corner, so dour has been done. I think right now his heart and mind is closed off, and it's because he's surrounded by people who are radicalizing him with a hateful ideology, and he's completely ignorant about Islam. But why I'm a bit concerned about him is just because he's a young British guy who thinks he's doing right, but he's being radicalized by these grifters who push him to do something where he's getting arrested, he's getting in trouble with the law.
So he's a pawn, basically.
He's a pawn. I think he's getting abused a bit in that sense.
Okay, all right.
He's being groomed in a way, I think. This is the impression I get.
What is he about? He's a teenager.
He's a young guy, yeah. He's like 20
19,
or younger,
20,
maybe, a young Bob. So to be honest, I'm just worried about him. If he came up to me, I wouldn't even want to argue with him. You know, obviously I don't want to sit here and say like he's done bad things. He's insulted the Prophet, I think, and you know, I'm not going to sit here and say he's done great things. But he's a young kid who's clearly being surrounded by bad types who are radicalizing him. He acts like he's a religious Christian, so he obviously wants to do the right thing, but he's just being suckered into a nasty lifestyle. And I just worry about him, especially if he's got something like autism. You know, you've got to take care of people like that. You shouldn't be pushing them to get arrested and things like that, you know. So, you know, I just pray to Allah to guide who needs to be guided, and you know, you know, I just hope that he's not going to get groomed to doing something that's going to put him in jail, you know, especially because those people won't show up to his court, as we know. Tommy Robinson incites people to do criminal acts.
I think when you're young as well, and you get all this attention, it can go to your head.
Absolutely.
It can intoxicate you.
Absolutely. It can destroy your life if you say stupid things. I mean, he doesn't know the difference between his ass and a hole in the ground. Do you know what I mean? He's literally that age. And I remember when I was young, you know, I could think things and I didn't know who I was, and I was still learning and going through a journey. And now that I'm older, I can say I know what my beliefs are, I know who I am as a person, I know what's right and wrong. I just think that he's just being groomed and radicalized and pushed to do things, and now he's getting arrested all the time. He's been arrested multiple times previously at other protests, and these are people who are not going to care for him. If he goes to jail one day, ruins his life and gets a criminal record,
they couldn't care less.
They don't give a toss. They wouldn't give a toss. So my message, if Bob's listening to this, take it easy, calm down. Islam's not the problem here. If you actually believe and love Jesus as you say you do, you'll actually be a Muslim, because Muslims actually respect and love Jesus way more than many Christians do. Tommy Robinson and all these other people that you may idealize, they ain't even proper Christians, bruv. They ain't even proper religious people, and they do not represent the teachings of Jesus well at all. They're grifters and charlatans. Just be careful, bro, and just figure your life out, you know? Just sort yourself out, and it's not worth going to jail over all this far-right rubbish. Don't let Tom Robinson put you in jail just for his own benefit.
Anything else, Robert?
Okay,
Before we finish?
yeah, I think there was Islamophobia in Ireland. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Well, no, I mean, there was this... I'm not sure if we can even play out this video, to be honest. If we do play it out, we need to censor it a little bit because obviously...
I think everyone's seen it. We could probably just react to it with this screenshot.
Yeah, let's leave the screenshot because obviously we have this young Muslim boy. I think he's in Galway, somewhere in Galway, in the west of Ireland, and he's being bullied by these two scumbag teenagers, and they're slapping him, and in the end, the guy in picture gives him a big left hook, puts him down. He's begging to be kind of just left alone. And it's just a horrible racist incident because he's small. He obviously doesn't want to fight. And
they showed no mercy, I think, on him.
Yeah, if you're the man and you want to have a fight and someone wants to fight you, then fair enough, you can get on with it. But this guy you're picking on someone a lot smaller than you, and he's already surrendered, you're just beating him up.
Just a kid.
You're just it's just a cowardly attack against a defenseless person that's not going to hit back. That ain't fighting. That's just assault, and it's disgusting, and it's evil, and you should be in a juvenile detention center, quite frankly. But the thing about this is that I've noticed I think you've been to Ireland a few times, and have you been
to north?
Oh, to the north, yeah. So I've been to the south, 7 or 8 times, I think, and lovely people, much nicer than British people, quite frankly.
Yeah, even in the north of Ireland,
much nicer than English people. They just have a kind of a sense of welcoming outsiders, and they love a crack, and a lot of them obviously have an acute sense of history and an acute sense of British colonization of their country and how they were brutalized by the British, so they'll instinctively sympathize with left-wing causes. But unfortunately, there is also a minority of Irish people who are quite racist and who are quite right-wing in their views as well. And there seems to be a growth or an attempt to provoke, and a lot of it is manufactured, I think, kind of a MAGA movement in Ireland, which blames immigrants and Muslims for everything, just like you have in the United States and the UK. And I've noticed this trend of, I think there was a plot to actually bomb a mosque as well, just last week, and I think it's a case case going through the courts, which we will report on. So there's this burgeoning MAGA movement in Ireland, which we really need to keep an eye on. And we will bring that to you, and I hope we can nip it in the bud, because most Irish people are not like this.
Yeah, and it's insane, isn't it? Because there was another incident in the north of Ireland, which we reported on as well some months back. It was a pipe bomb chucked into a masjid during Friday prayers, so there was a congregation present. And luckily, it didn't go off. I think it was a badly built device, but yeah, an attempt to commit a serious terror attack was conducted as well. So yeah, Ireland appears to be affected heavily by all of this Islamophobic extremism that's going on. So yeah, really worrying times. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Well, I think there's only one more thing I wanted to react to. It has gone viral. Yes, Andrew Tate. I think people have finally reached the conclusion now that this guy is...
had enough of him.
Yeah, we've just had enough of him now, and I think everyone's had enough of him, Gen Z and Muslims and everything. Let's just react to this tweet which went viral a couple of days ago. So Andrew Tate tweeted, "The West used to be so much more disconnected. I remember when I moved from America to England at the age of 10, 28 years ago, I was amazed that none of the classmates from my old American school had the same name as new classmates in the English school. The English kids were called James or Rupert, names you'd never heard of in America, and the American kids were Brad or Jackie, names you never heard in England. But now, all the kids in every Western school are just called Mohammed." So the impression that people were given from this tweet is that it's some kind of problem. It used to have all of these English names. Now you've got this Mohammed name everywhere. And this is someone who is apparently a Muslim. So he was widely condemned for it online. Everyone was criticizing him, saying, what a stupid thing for a so-called Muslim to say. And then debate raged about whether or not he's even properly a Muslim anymore. A lot of people were saying maybe he never has been. A lot of people were criticizing those who supported him initially when he took his Shahada, saying you were all idiots for doing so. So it re-galvanized this debate around Andrew Tate and what Muslims should make of him now after everything that's happened so far. So Roshan, do you want to update your views? Do you want to advise our followers what to make of
whether
Andrew
he's
Tate?
Muslim or not, I have no idea, but whatever he is, he's a waste man. And that's my only comment. I think Muslims should ignore him. Obviously, we've talked quite a lot about him, and I don't think we were wrong to give him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning. I think we took the Islamic point of view that, someone converts to Islam, no matter what their background, we take it at face value. We believe them. It's like they're a newborn baby. That is the Islamic thing to do. Now, just because since then he's proved to be unrepentant and problematic and quite frankly un-Islamic, doesn't justify those who criticized us in the first place, and it just doesn't. And but I think people have such entrenched views on this. But I think those that are criticizing us actually don't really know what the Islamic position is. They're pretty ignorant Islamically about how you welcome new Muslims into the fold. I think they're just pure, either they don't care or they're ignorant. But I just think Muslims should ignore this guy. He's a provocateur. Why would he say something like that? It's obviously he has a right-wing audience that he's trying to appeal to. I think he's still probably in with his MAGA mates and Tommy Robinson and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I just want to.
Sad.
The reason I brought this up really was I just wanted to mention something because I think my gut tells me that this may happen on the horizon, and we need to sort of brace for impact a little bit and just kind of prepare for it. Andrew Tate keeps feeding in and parroting far-right talking points to the point where he's actually at odds with Muslims, a community
all the time.
he claims to be a part of. And it's reaching dangerous levels. His comments and tweets around the Southport attack as well went viral for all the wrong reasons and possibly aided, if I remember right, it aided in...
it was incitement.
It was incitement, and obviously there were race riots after that, which people were sharing his type of comments and all that type of thing. So... he's gone well and beyond saying dangerous things, really, which impact Muslims at a time when hate and Islamophobia is at an all-time high. What may happen, I suspect, is that Andrew Tate may decide that it's not in his benefit to embrace Islam or to have the I'm a Muslim reputation anymore. He might decide to jump bandwagon and join this Christian nationalist movement.
Who knows, Robert?
Who knows?
Can't see into his heart.
Assuming he does that, what he'll do then, he'll blame Muslims. He'll say, I was Muslim properly.
You made me Christian.
You've made me Christian because of the way you've treated me, because you were too harsh on me. He may say that. Trust me, it's in his character. He would do it. If he does jump ship, he will blame Muslims for it. And then some Muslims may be naive enough to turn around and go, oh, you idiots, people like criticism from Five Pillars and all these Dawah people holding him to account for his actions, pushed him over the edge, and he should have been softer to a convert and that type of thing. Well, that's why I want to put it on record now. We know this could happen. Andrew Tate would say something like that if he does. He'll blame us for it, but it's not us, because as we know, Allah doesn't hold you accountable for the sins, Allah holds you account for the decisions you make.
Not for the sins of others,
Exactly. And obviously, holding him to account after years of claiming he's a Muslim and still pushing haram onto his fan base is not a reason for him to then turn around and say, well, I've left Islam now because you guys are ridiculous and I'm Christian now. If he does that, it's because there are questions over whether he was...
Look, I'm a fan of the haram police, quite frankly, because, Islam is not free-for-all. It has rules. And if you publicly... Obviously, we all sin in our private lives. And we're not seeking to expose people's private sins, because if you start doing that, well, it's un-Islamic to do that, but also there'll never be an end to it because every single one of us is a sinner. But if you publicly transgress the rules of Islam, then you're fair game. You're fair game. And obviously, at first, there should be gentle nasiha before going in all guns blazing. But literally, I think we gave him about a year's breathing space where he was still posting all this nonsense online, un-Islamic nonsense, and we did turn a blind eye to a lot of it. But at the end of the day, it was obviously wasn't taking the advice, and that's when you have to start playing the Haram police to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the first that he started blocking. You know, he went through a phase of blocking Muslims because they were daring to criticize
Has he blocked you? I think he's blocked me.
Yeah, he's blocked me.
He's not on my radar anymore, to be honest.
I think he blocked 5 Pillars, the actual account maybe. You know, he's blocking everyone who's actually Muslim, and he claims to be Muslim as well. Only Allah knows what's in his heart. But like you said, we judge him on his public actions, and what he's doing publicly ain't good. You know, what else can we say? And it's our job to speak about what's
not
going on
ours. It's all Muslims' job to hold each other to account for their public positions, and especially if you have audience of millions.
It's like I said about Tom Robson the other show. I'm someone who's been through a journey. I've converted to Islam. I was Christian. I've always been religious. So I've been on that journey. I know what it's like. I can recognize it when I see someone else going on that same journey.
Yeah.
Okay, I can recognize it, whether they're Christian or Muslim or whatever. If you're genuinely going through a spiritual journey, trying to connect to the creator of the universe, I can sense that. My gut tells me. And although I don't have divine attributes, I can't see into hearts, my gut tells me that it's a grift. It's just a grift. Definitely with Tommy Robinson, Andrew Tate. I mean, come on, man. What the hell is going on? You know, you can't seriously keep blaming Muslims for being too critical of your actions when you're literally promoting absolute unhindered haram, you know, to your support base. So, yeah, that's just something I wanted to highlight before we end the show, is that if I just foresee something like this happening. He'll ditch Islam eventually because it's unprofitable or unpopular or whatever. He's getting too much heat. And then he'll just blame Muslims and say, you guys turned me away. Now I'm Christian. Tommy Robinson was always right. You guys are terrible. And it's like, well, no, actually, I think Islam doesn't need Andrew Tate. You know what I mean? Andrew Tate needs Islam. So if he can't recognize that fact after all this time and ditches Islam, then, you know, woe unto him.
It does frustrate me a little bit, though, we're even talking about it, though, because kind of we are very much kind of obsessed by this kind of, not just us, but the whole world is obsessed by this social media, these influences. Even our discussions revolve around them, but there doesn't seem to be any avoiding it, is it? Because it's modern world, isn't it?
Yes, modern world. It is pretty big.
But he's literally not on my radar anymore. You know, I hardly see him on my timeline because he blocked me, and I think I muted him or something like that, and he's not even on my timeline.
I think we should all do that, just block and mute him. Yeah, that's probably the solution. Well, brothers and sisters, I think we've discussed enough today. It's been a great show as always, inshallah, and please do pray, like, share and subscribe.
It's been a great show. You like blow your own trumpet.
I think so.
Isn't that for other people to say?
Well, you tell me
what
you think.
What a fantastic show, Robert.
If I say so myself, it has been a fantastic show, but you tell me what you think. If you disagree, put it in the comment section below. I know Roshan is a bit of a hindrance. He's a bit annoying.
I was really happy with my performance in this show, Robert. That's like...
okay, well...
we're brilliant, aren't we?
What do you want me to say? It's been a terrible show, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to pick it up, even though I'm the presenter. Roshan doesn't like me to do it. But there we go. Brothers and sisters, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And until next time, assalamu alaikum. Ma salama for now.